How's it going, everyone? Roslyn here. With the release of Persona 3 Portable on modern consoles, I figured it'd be a good opportunity to put out a video covering some of my top tips for the game. Keep in mind though that this video is mainly aimed at new players, as well as those who have maybe only gotten into the Persona series, starting with Persona 5. You also won't find many combat tips, as the combat in P3 Portable is actually very easy, a byproduct of letting the player control all party members in a game that was not originally balanced around that. For context, the original Persona 3 and its first re-release, Persona 3 FS, didn't actually allow you to control any of your party members in battle except for the main character, and the game was balanced around this. With the release of Persona 3 Portable though, this changed, as you can now fully control all of your party members in battle. However, the game itself wasn't actually changed to account for this, and so battles are now quite easy. What is not easy though are the social elements. For anyone who played Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal and found maxing your social stats and confidence to be a challenge, well, buckle up, because Persona 3 Portable is a whole nother ballgame. But anyways, enough rambling, let's get into the tips. So as I alluded to, maxing your social stats and your S-links as they're called in this game is significantly more difficult than more recent entries into the Persona series. If you do want to max it all in one playthrough, expect to make copious use of save scumming. And one of the best ways to abuse save scumming for social stats is by getting your main character sick. A lot. Essentially, Persona 3 introduced a mechanic in which your main character and even party members can get tired and sick. In Persona 3 Portable specifically, this can happen after leaving the game's dungeon Tartarus. And while sick or tired, you can make use of a nice courage increase that doesn't take up any time. Simply go to the clinic at the school and opt to drink the concoction that Edogawa offers you for a fairly substantial increase to your courage social stat. To make full use of this, you will want to ensure that you get tired after leaving Tartarus. You will then want to make sure that you are again tired the following day after that. Next, after being tired for 2 days in a row, you want to ensure that your character becomes sick. And then finally, you want to be sick for one more day, giving you a total of 4 days in a row of free, easy courage points. The reason for doing this tired, sick progression is because you can only be tired for 2 days in a row, and you can only be sick for 2 days in a row. This maximizes the number of days that you are tired and sick. Just expect a fair bit of save scumming if you're unlucky. Moving on, while sticking with the theme of social stats, going to the arcade and Paulownia Mall once you get access to night activities is another great source of social stats. The quiz game gives a large boost to your academic stat, the photo booth gives a large boost to your charm stat, and the horror game gives a large boost to your courage stat. The only thing you want to keep in mind though is that the arcade does cost you money, but it's definitely worth it. Switching gears a little bit, let's touch upon social links, starting with the relationship between the associated arcana of a given social link and the persona you have in your stock. If you've seen my video on maxing confidence in Persona 5 Royal, then this will be familiar to you, but essentially each S-link has an arcana that is associated with them. Whenever you would gain affinity with an S-link, that being whenever the little notes pop up above a character's head in dialogue, if you have a persona in your stock that has the same arcana as the character's arcana who you are talking to, you will gain more affinity. For example, Junpei is the Magician Arcana. If I then say have a Nekomata, a persona that is of the Magician Arcana, in my stock whenever I hang out with Junpei as part of his social link, all points obtained with him will be increased by 1.5 times. It's because of this increase in points that you want to try and make sure that you have a persona in your stock that matches the arcana of any S-link you plan to interact with on a given day. There are some exceptions though, with that being the Devil, the Moon, the Sun, the Aeon, and the Fortune, all of which have unique rank-up mechanics. One thing to watch out for with S-links that you may not be familiar with if you've only played Persona 4 and Persona 5 is that there are S-links that can break. This can happen for the Lovers and Justice social links if you are playing as the male main character, and for the Fortune Arcana if you are playing as the female main character. But I do want to make special note of the Fortune Arcana when playing as the female main character, as this is the easiest one to break. The way to avoid this is by always agreeing to hang out with them whenever prompted to do so. This will ensure that the S-link doesn't break. And the final thing to touch upon with regards to S-links is that if you are playing as the female main character, it is highly recommended that you prioritize the Moon Arcana whenever possible due to the extremely short timeline with which you have to actually rank it up. And then the last thing that I want to mention with regards to Persona 3's social stats in general is that while a small difference, it is technically easier to do all of this with the female main character than it is the male main character. They're both pretty difficult and pretty strict, but it is technically easier as the female main character. Alright, a few tips with regards to Tartarus and battling in Persona 3 Portable to close out the video. First, whenever you are planning to head into Tartarus, be sure to check with your party members to make sure they can all go. Unlike with Persona 4 and Persona 5, there are nights in which some of your party members won't be available to go in the Tartarus with you. Though rest assured this will not be the case with any of the main story sequences that lead to any boss fights. They will always be around for those. Next, I want to touch upon rescue victims. As you progress through the game, some people will find themselves trapped in Tartarus, and by going in and finding them, you can rescue them. But you don't have all the time in the world to do this, as there are deadlines by which you must rescue these lost victims as shown on screen. And if you do want to max all social links, it is very important that you rescue these victims, as some of these social links will become permanently locked if you don't do so. Okay, so while you are fusing new persona and leveling them up, you will come across some persona that have a heart icon on their status screen. This indicates that upon learning all of their skills, they will provide you with either a skill card or an item. And an easy way to get duplicates of these skill cards and items is to register the persona to the compendium just before they're about to learn their last skill. After that, level up the persona, learn the new skill, and get your reward. You can then fuse that persona away or just release it, doesn't really matter, and then go back to the compendium and pull out the version of that persona that's about to learn its last skill again. Simply level it up, learn its last skill, and get another copy of its reward. After that, just rinse and repeat. Finally, I want to give a few recommendations on some persona to fuse early on that will help you avoid dying to instant death abilities like Hama and Mudo, because as with many SMT games, if your main character dies, it's game over. And enemies that use Hama and Mudo skills show up pretty early in Persona 3. First is Nigi Mitama, which can be fused at level 12, and Oberon, which can be fused at level 15. Both of these persona are resistant to both light and dark. And then at level 19, you can fuse a Neko Shogun, which is the first persona that you can get access to that is immune to both light and dark. And that'll be it for my top tips for Persona 3 Portable. I'm sure there are things I've missed, as it has admittedly been quite a while since I actually played through Persona 3, so if there are any veterans who have actually stayed to the end of this video and have any other tips that I may have missed or forgotten, please be sure to leave a comment in the comment section below to help out new players. Just try to avoid spoilers. And of course, if you found this video helpful, please be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. You can also catch me live over on Twitch at twitch.tv/RoslinGaming or my Discord server if you have any questions about this video, Persona 3, or any other game that I cover. Links to both of those can be found in the video description. Until next time, take care.